You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, we are so glad that you are. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2024. I just said August. I almost said August earlier today. I have no idea why I've been doing that, but it's November, 12th, 2024, and Will Retherford, I'm the host, Greg Mengelt, and Will Retherford is here to answer 5 questions that need answers. It's gone really well the last few weeks. You've made some controversial statements that may get you labeled a hater.
Yep.
But it's been a lot of fun doing it, and I got 5 more for you this week. Actually, probably more like 11, but I'll package it in 5 questions.
Yeah. And hater, hey, I'm expecting the heat. I'm ready to stand in the kitchen, though. I mean, I am ready to go to battle for a few of the takes I've had, and I will continue. It will not end today.
As always, we start with, during football season, the 5 teams most likely to win the Super Bowl. Not your top 5 rankings.
Just
the top 5 most likely to win the Super Bowl.
4th week in a row, I think I've said this. The Lions, they find a way to win. What a great Sunday night game, too. That was the sloppiest. I mean, just turnover after turnover after turnover. I think the entire second half was either a Lions score or a turnover after every possession. So, Kaimi Fairbairn missed field goal. But, I mean, they're
the whole game was almost every possession. Did they
felt
punt?
like it. I don't know if there may have been one punt.
Because 5 turnovers and 4 touchdowns is a lot.
It was 7.
Yeah.
Because Stroud had 2 picks, too. And a missed field
goal.
goal.
No, I meant for the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the Lions alone.
5 picks, and I don't know if they punted, but I think Townsend punted once for the Texans. Yeah. But, I mean,
it was a great game.
It was great. You felt like after the end of the second half, or into the first half, you're like, man, the Texans might come in here and play, and then the Lions just kind of very nitty-gritty, dirty win, but they won, so can't take anything away from them there. So they're still my number 1. I still think they're clear-cut the best team in the league.
A lot of good games on Sunday.
Yeah, it was.
The Colts just were not one of them.
No. My number 2 team is the Chiefs. They got real. I don't want to say they got lucky. They don't, because you go back and you watch film of the guy that they targeted on that last field goal, and he's been real bad in field goal protection the entire year. He almost got a couple blocked against the Saints. Like, it's not like he's been great. He's been really bad. They targeted him. You can specifically see they overloaded right at him to make sure they found the weak point and they hit it. That great film prep, great preparation, special teams, taking care of the little things. So while others will say that it was lucky, I don't think it was. I think it was really great coaching and great special team strategy.
It's the thing that every franchise wants from a coach who takes advantage of everything that he can, and not very many have one.
No, and they did. And
the Patriots had one for a long time, but there aren't very many of them.
They completely took advantage of the situation. I would like to say that I thought Bo Nix outplayed Patrick Mahomes the entirety of that game. I thought Bo Nix looked really good. In fact, I would say the last 4 weeks, I could get some flack for this, but I think he maybe been the best rookie quarterback the last 4 weeks of the season. I think he is continuing to develop each week. He's getting better. I think the Chiefs are, they're 9-0. They're 9-0. That's their record. I don't know if I'd say.
So in a power poll, you have them number 2, but do you really believe they're the second most likely team to win the Super Bowl?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like they find ways to win. So I can't really argue the fact that they are known winners.
I think
Mahomes
it's
is a winner.
I still think it's
Reed
inevitable.
is a winner. I think they're the second most team likely because of that. I don't think they're even close to the second best team, though, in my opinion, at this moment. I just don't think they're playing that well. I think they're getting making timely plays when they want to, but the totality of how they've played as a team has not been up to that, that Chiefs standard that we see. The Mahomes regression from where he was. I don't want to call it a regression, but just the way that he's changed his play style
change,
is really, it's even less so than Brady was with the Patriots. I feel like Mahomes is kind of I don't want to say a non-entity, but it just doesn't feel like he is the shining star of that team anymore.
Are you old enough to remember the Patriots' first 3 Super Bowls?
No, yeah, Tom Brady wasn't either.
He was not even a top 6 player on that team.
But, I mean, I don't know.
But
it's just
Mahomes is smart, and he will figure it out. And come playoff time, I guarantee.
Oh yeah, I mean he'll have the best numbers come playoff time.
I don't know about numbers, but he will find a way to win.
It's just it's interesting.
He's smarter than
I would like
else.
to know what has gone on to where that mentality has. I mean, we've said this. I've said this. I think last week, probably the week before. I mean, we're talking about a 5,050 touchdown year. His rookie year in the NFL.
Have you watched a game where he's looked really bad? I haven't watched a game where he's looked really bad. There have been times where he hasn't been great.
See, I think
his weapons just aren't good enough for one thing.
I didn't think he looked great yesterday.
He hasn't looked great one time.
I don't know if he's looked bad.
He's never looked bad. That's the point I'm trying to make.
But I don't think I would beg to say there's been games I don't know if he's looked good.
No, that's true. I don't think he's looked good.
I would say it's been pretty.
But he hasn't looked bad.
I would like to know if there's an injury or something that we don't know about that's affecting him, and we probably will never. I don't know. It just seems very strange.
I think his weapons just aren't good enough.
No, it's strange. And honest to God, I do think that come playoff time, I think their lack of weapons will. They can get got this year. Like they're
For sure.
the perfect situation. Like they can lose. I mean, there is no question about it.
By your number 3 team.
My number 3 team.
I'm saying, are they going to lose possibly to your number 3 team? Because I would assume an AFC team is going to be number 3.
I would say this player has had the Chiefs number his entire career and has never been on the right side of history, and that would be Josh Allen. And the Buffalo Bills are my number 3 team. He threw 2 picks, and he's still just incredible. Just an incredible football player. They don't make him like Josh Allen. They really don't. I don't know if they ever have. They probably never will. Just an absolute. He
has everything.
Just a leader. He's a winner.
No one's ever had everything like he's had.
No, he's just a winner, and he's just. I hope history is kind to Josh Allen because it should be.
It's very John Elway-ish, except for Elway won a lot earlier in his career.
Yeah, I mean, he's so talented. So talented. He just oozes. Everything he's does.
He's great to watch.
Everything he does. He threw 2 picks, and still, everything he does,
You're definitely not a Josh Allen hater.
Oh, I'm a Josh Allen lover. I love Josh Allen. I always have been. He is so fun. I don't know. It's just that team is special too. I think,
and they're fun to watch, and their uniforms.
And
are cool.
in a way that team doesn't have the weapons like Kansas City does. He elevates his team. He is the reason they win every single week.
You think he's the MVP so far,
or
is it the quarterback of what I assume is your number 4 team?
My number 4 team is the Ravens, and I think Josh Allen should be the MVP.
But he is Lamar Jackson is so good.
I still want the NFL to remember, and I know they don't, this award should go to the player that is the most valuable to his team, and Josh Allen is the most valuable player in the entire league, not just to the Bills.
But it's close because Lamar Jackson is that valuable to his team.
The Ravens, they steal one. Joey Burrow, though, wow, another football player, just an absolute gunslinger. I think he outplayed Lamar. I think Joe Burrow should be in this conversation. If their record's 7-2, Joe Burrow's the MVP, and no one's even having the discussion. He's been incredible.
But they're not.
They're not.
They're not making the playoffs. Assuming that Denver continues to make its ascension, the Bengals have no chance.
To no fault of his own. I mean, Joe Burrow has played incredible for a quarterback that's not going that may not make the playoffs. So,
but Denver's the only team they can catch.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair. Let's see. The Steelers still have not played a division game yet. I still think
they're 4 games ahead of them, or 3 games ahead.
They're 3 games ahead, but they still have to play the Bengals twice, and that's 2 games.
All right, here comes the hating.
Right, no, it's just I mean, there is still an avenue where, I mean, this Steelers team is good. I'm not going to take anything away from the Steelers team. They still have to play everybody in the division twice, and that division beats up on each other every year.
By the way, the Steelers also have one of those coaches that every franchise should wish to have.
Yeah.
All he does is take teams with less talent and beat you with them every stinking week.
Yep, that's great until you get to the division round and he loses.
And that's what's going to happen. But.
So, the Ravens, they are my number 4 team. The Bills and Ravens can probably kind of flip-flop however you'd like them. Honestly, you could just about put them over the Chiefs, just in my opinion.
Absolutely. You could put those 3 in any order, and I would agree with you. When we're talking about who's most likely to win the Super Bowl, not if you're talking about power pool, it has to be the Chiefs.
Yeah. So those 2, those 3, the Ravens are very good. Their pass defense is really, really vulnerable. Joe Burrow threw 428, 4 touchdowns, and made it kind of look easy against Kyle Hamilton that was injured. So that's something to watch for that secondary who's already not playing well, and you take away their best player. So this is a Ravens team that I would say is figuring out ways to win. They are a good team. Let's see. The Ravens, I don't know, they just have this weird where it's like you know how good they are, and somehow you just in the back of your head you know that it's eventually they're just going to lose. They're just going to drop a game they have no business losing, and I don't know why. I don't have an explanation for it, but they're my number 4 team. I'm going to say my 5 team, I don't want to pick another team that is in the AFC, but I almost feel like you have to. And as much as I want to hate, I feel like you kind of need to mention the Steelers a little bit. That defense is very good. Russell Wilson elevates them. I think that they're playing well. I don't know. It's hard for me to say those words because I am a Steelers hater. But
you're here to offer honest analysis.
They
Will.
kind of have. They kind of have everything. They're going to lose in the divisional round. It's no secret.
Right. They're the bad good team or the good bad team. I think.
There's a team, the Eagles, that I think continue to win. I think I'm going to put the Eagles at 5. I think I'm going to move the Steelers down to my 6, my honorable mention. I'm going to put the Eagles because I think Jalen Hurts he's a football player too. He's a very good player. He elevates that team. He makes them better. And
they've got a lot of good players. They just also have a couple of weaknesses that are.
They have a lot of talent.
They also have a couple of weaknesses that are easy.
Yeah.
But I don't think there are any teams in the NFC that don't.
No, well,
and I think the Lions have weaknesses, but they're by far the best team in the NFL. But they're not going to win it.
So I'm going to mention one more team, just like I said, honorable mention. I have the Steelers there, and I feel like there's a team that we need to begin to have a conversation about, and that's the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, the coach team, he has done everything that he said that he was going to do with this team. They have completely turned their team around. Their defense is looking better than it ever did with Staley. He was supposedly a defensive genius.
Do you remember sitting at the Creekside Chateau when we were talking about whether teams had a chance to make the playoffs?
Yeah, and this was one you were spot on.
And I said,
this is one you were spot on.
Because Jim Harbaugh is their coach. You didn't remember very well when he took over the 49ers.
Well, yeah,
they were horrible.
Yep.
And by the end of his first 6 games, they were 5-1.
Yep. And I think that this Chargers team, and it has something that those 49ers teams never had, and they have an elite quarterback.
Absolutely.
Who I think they need to use more. I think I feel for I don't feel for Justin Herbert because he's uber wealthy. West Coast guy, had just a great quarterback, huge arm, like prototypical guy. I don't feel bad for him in that sense, but I feel bad in the sense I don't feel like every week he gets to come out and show his true skill set.
But he's about to be. Because
I hope.
They have a lot of money. They have a lot of capital.
Yep.
Their offensive line is young and talented, so you don't need to do much there.
But and
they can spend all their money on wide receivers.
I just don't think they throw the ball enough.
But they will.
But Herbert's the kind of guy. Herbert's the kind of guy that he can throw people open. He's that kind of level of quarterback. I think he's really, really good. Very good. We've had this conversation. The game they lost against Jacksonville, Herbert, we were ready to put him up, but this guy is a winner. This guy is great. This guy is a guy that is always, his coach has always been the reason that he can't win. And he's winning now, but I just don't feel like I missed the Justin Herbert where he was having to throw 450 yards and 5 touchdowns to win.
A, they're winning, but B, yes, scheme and quarterbacks can, quote unquote, throw a wide receiver open. But when defensive backs are better than wide receivers, it's never going to be a good day. He just doesn't have the receivers yet, and so they're putting a scheme to win anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
which is what Jim Harbaugh does.
Yeah, Herbert is a great young talent in this league that he's just waiting for his coming out party. That's what he's doing. I mean, he's just sitting there waiting. It's going to happen because he's too talented, and he's the kind of quarterback in the playoffs. If you let get hot, he can win a Super Bowl. Like, he's that talented.
He's a little Josh Allen-y.
Not the runner, but
no,
yes,
I know,
that kind of gunslinger thrower of the football. I think he's a little more accurate too. So those are my 6 and 7. The Steelers. I really wanted to talk about the Chargers more because they kind of flown under the radar.
Sure,
West Coast bias. You know, we don't watch a ton of their games because they're on the 4 o'clock window. That's kind of the snooze fest for the East Coast people, or Eastern Time Zone people. And yeah, I think they're really good. Their defense is very good too,
and they're very well coached.
Yes.
And you've been talking up the Arizona Cardinals all year.
Yep, I have.
Do you think they can be competitive in the playoffs, assuming they get there?
Yes.
Right now?
Absolutely. They have a quarterback. They have a quarterback that can go win you a game, do everything. He's so fast. So fast.
Speaking of fun to watch.
Yeah, they have talent offensively. James Conner is a very good running back, which is it was a rare Pittsburgh Steeler miss. You know, the Steelers don't usually get rid of good football players.
Sometimes running backs don't fit a scheme, and you think you can do better with what you want to do.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in the NFL.
But
you're right. It doesn't happen very often with the Steelers.
It doesn't happen with the Steelers. They don't miss on people like that, and he has gone to Arizona and been very good. I mean, been a huge part of that team. In fact, I kind of get annoyed with that you drafted a elite uber alpha elite wide receiver in Marvin Harrison. They don't throw him the ball enough because James Conner gets the ball so much. But they have a great tight end. Great tight ends are a quarterback's best friend all the time. They have an elite alpha 1 receiver who can make – whenever they throw him the ball in the red zone, he catches it. I mean, every ball that gets thrown in the end zone to Marvin Harrison Jr. has been caught. I know that stat's not true.
It's an exaggeration.
It's an exaggeration,
but
when you watch him and when you just say, hey, like they're targeting Marvin Harrison, you just know he's coming. He's that kind of receiver. Just throw him the ball. He's going to go up and catch it. His footwork is incredible. His release off the line, everybody talks about his inline speed. He gets open. He's open all the time. So I don't think it's something with inline speed. I just think that Kyler's always the kind of quarterback that isn't like it's not a selfishness, but sometimes Kyler's going to play for Kyler. Like that ball that he could rip down the field 20 yards to Marvin Harrison or Trey McBride. You know, Kyler maybe takes that off for like a 10-yard run, gets out, scrambles. Like I think he's a run first quarterback probably more than others, but the defense is playing well. They have talent offensively. They can absolutely make a splash in the playoffs.
And the NFC it's not weak because it's got, I think, 10 competitive teams.
Yeah, I just
but there is no one. Yeah,
the power in that conference outside of the Lions.
You talk about the Eagles. Just they have a lot of weakness. I think what the thing is, the Cardinals and Eagles are very similar teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really now that I think you're talking about that. I mean, I think absolutely they are. It's
a lot of good players, a lot of holes. Week to week against whatever the matchup is, you could have a huge game or a horrible game because they have so many good players and so many holes.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. I think the Eagles probably have more elite talent, especially offensively.
At least more experienced talent.
Devontae Smith is he is an alpha 1 if he's on any other team than the Eagles.
He might be their best receiver.
I think he's their best receiver. I think he's been their best receiver. Yeah, I think those are two teams that I think they're on a collision. They're going to play at some point. Those two teams, and you're going to see a real clash of styles. And Jonathan Gannon's a good DC too. Very good defensive coordinator. You know, they have not given up a touchdown in 3 games. That's not happened in 98 years of that franchise. They have not given up a touchdown the last 3 games. And they played against the Chargers and the Bears, who supposedly were both supposed to be good teams. So take that for what you. I mean,
Absolutely, that's why I brought them up, Will.
Another team that we don't see because Eastern time zone bias. They're always on the 4 o'clock to 4:25 window,
and they're never on national television. When
never,
they are.
no, never. You have to go find their game somewhere. Illicit streaming site, illegal streaming site.
NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, if you want to pay for that, I'm a college kid. I'm not Stream East. Thank you. But,
or Sports Bar, if you're old enough.
Sports Bar, that's a good one too. So I mean, I watch the Cardinals games. I get on there, get on my computer, and watch them. I like watching Kyler. I like watching Marvin Harrison. I mean, they're a good team. And
there's usually only one other good game at the same time that they're playing.
I mean, they're leading the West.
Yes, they are.
10 games into after week 10, I don't know how many people would have probably said that coming into the year.
Well, I know you didn't say that, but you were higher on the Cardinals than I expected.
Well, I just think it's I always trust good quarterbacks.
All right, let's move on to the NBA.
Okay.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are 12-0. Are they the top contender to Boston in the East?
No. Bubble's going to pop. Water will find its level. I've said that numerous times. No, they're not. There's a reason that they, were a first-round exit last year, and they're going to be a first-round exit this year. This is fun.
The reason that they were the first-round exit last year is because they had injuries.
It's a fun story.
One of the reasons. They almost beat the Knicks anyway.
It's a fun story.
And probably would have been in the Eastern Conference Finals had they.
Nope.
Without Jared Allen. They are legit. They are... I think without Porzingis, they're a notch above Boston right now. I think they are that good, and I think they have potential to keep getting better because Mobley just keeps adding to his skill set every year.
I mean, they've played an okay schedule so far. I don't
look at the results. They speak for themselves.
I don't know. I mean, Spida is a great player. I mean, he was great in Utah.
So is Garland. So is Allen. So is Mobley. Those aren't the only guys. And they're all coming together at the same time, kind of like we're waiting for the Pacers.
I think here's the problem. Here's why I say that. And you can rebuttal, tell me differently.
I have a reason why I would say that.
I think they have a great 5. But the problem is that to get to the point where they're contending to be the 1 seed in Boston, that 5 is going to have to play a lot of minutes. And that 5 is going to break down. And they're not going to be healthy coming into the playoffs. It's inevitable. They do not have depth. They are 5 strong. And it's going to be the same problem they ran into last year where they get to April and they're banged up. Because that's what happens over an 82 game period. Now,
they are not the same Cavaliers.
They're better. They are better. But I don't think that you're not going to get 75 games from all those players. You're just not. Inevitably, somebody's going to get hurt. A couple people are going to get hurt, and I think that's the thing with the NBA is this what makes the postseason and the regular season so different is that the regular season is very much a marathon, and you need to have a lot of ammo to go at the marathon. Whereas the playoffs are you're playing your top 8. And that's who's playing.
Right, that's why the Cavaliers are going to be so good in the postseason.
But is that 8 going to be ready? Is that 8 going to be healthy?
I mean, this point, you have to say so. I mean, they've been so far.
We're only 12 games. It's only 12 games into
the argument I would make against them is I don't think Mitchell is a number 1, and I don't think teams win championships without a number 1.
I don't know. He's been a
he's a
really
number 1 type
player.
Scorer, but he is not
a really good player. He's a good defender too.
But he's not a Donovan. He's not that person led us to a championship.
Well,
type
okay,
player.
but he's always been in a small market too. So what's that? Is that conversation different if he's been somewhere else?
He's not as good as the guys who win championships year after year.
I don't know. I would.
He's not on the level of Jason Tatum and Kevin Garnett and Steph Curry and LeBron James, and I'm talking about over the past years.
I mean, maybe he's a late bloomer. I mean, who knows?
I
don't think Tatum's a good example.
That's why
I don't think Tatum's a good example of that.
Well, he's an incredible go-to scorer.
And he may not be the best scorer on their team.
Well, they've got 2.
I don't think that
they've got 2 that are better than but then Cleveland's won. So thank you for helping me make my point. If I was arguing against the Cavaliers, that would be, and that's why I think the emergence of Evan Mobley could change the entire complexion.
Well, but
because if Evan Mobley becomes an all-star starter type player, that changes everything. And I think then they are the best team in the NBA, not just the East.
I think you're going to have to see their matchup. Who do they play in the playoffs? Because I think like the Knicks are going to be a tough out. Like no matter where they are, like the Knicks are going to be a tough out.
But they screwed up their chemistry.
Well, they did.
Getting rid of
we said it. It was completely.
They'll be a team that I expect to be
trade.
great next year, and they're
stupid trade.
They're still very good. They're going to be a factor in the playoffs. I believe there'll be a final. There'll be a Final Four in the East, but
any team that has Jimmy Butler on it in April is a tough out.
They're just not very good. So I would be more concerned about a team like Charlotte. That has
I think
two
Charlotte's
young
pretty
stars
good. I think Charlotte's
than I would
good.
be about Miami.
I just say Jimmy Butler's a winner.
Yeah.
That's why. He's that archetype that may not be winning the championship, but he takes teams that has no business going, and they go.
Completely respect Jimmy Butler and everything he's done, but this team is not good enough.
No, I'm just saying tough. I'm not saying they're good enough to win a championship. I'm saying
they're not good. They're not good enough to win a first round.
A first round matchup. I don't know. I think they're. I mean, the Pacers were a 6 seed last year, and they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I just think it just depends on how they're playing. The Cavs are good. They're going to be banged up. I don't expect that they're real legit contenders to Boston.
Do you think they'll be the number 1 seed?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I don't.
I'll take that one.
I mean, I'm going to click on this so far. So, I mean, they have still, in the regular season, they've still yet to play either the Pistons or the Pacers, excuse me. They have not played the Pacers, nor have they played the Celtics yet. So,
they've also beaten a lot of really good teams and beaten them handily.
They still have not played the 2 best teams in the East. So, I think just
so
wait.
You think the Pacers are the 3rd best team? Or the 2nd, or the best?
I think they're this. I said the 2nd. I think that they're a 2 or 3 seed probably. And I mean, record is not always indicative of how good a team is in the NBA either.
You agree that the 76ers and Bucks are done?
Yes.
I mean, as a contender, not that they can't make the playoffs.
No, they're done. The Bucks cannot play defense. They also not scoring either.
Yeah.
It's no.
Except for Giannis.
The Sixers, when you make your offense through a big man and you pay him and you don't pay anyone else, it never ends well. That's just Joel Embiid is not that kind of player where the offense can run through him as a center and then be.
And their 4 through 9 isn't good enough either.
Nope.
All right, we're going to move to some baseball.
Okay.
This week I'm going to ask you about 5 players.
Okay.
By the way, pitchers aren't players. 5 players who are and where they're going to wind up for next season.
Okay.
And then next week I'm going to ask you 5 pitchers where they're going to end up for next season. These are the players I think will make the biggest impact or the biggest splash.
Okay.
All right. Juan Soto. Where's he end up?
Yankees, probably. I think he goes back. I don't know. I feel like they'll open the pocketbooks up. I think that what the Dodgers did is probably going to incentivize teams and big markets to make those kind of moves. I would say he stays in New York, although I don't exactly know. I want to say the Yankees have the upper hand, although I'm not sure which New York team he's going to. But I think he stays in New York.
Speaking of which, Pete Alonso?
I don't know. He's a real interesting player to analyze. Because you go through the National League and you say, okay, I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to say the Phillies have Bryce Harper. They're not interested in the first baseman. The Braves have Matt Olson. They're not interested in Pete Alonso. The Mets, obviously, he's leaving the Mets. So, we'll see. The Nationals, he's not going to a team not contending. The Marlins, no.
Reds could use a first baseman.
I mean, the Brewers have... God, who is the Brewers' first baseman?
Yeah, the Brewers could use a first baseman.
Yeah, but that's not the Brewers' MO. That's not a team that...
It's not the Reds' MO either.
That's not a team that typically, I would say, is going to spend a ton of money, make a big splash play like that. I don't know. That's just not very. I don't think he fits that team either. That team is not a huge home run hitting team in the sense that they Rhys Hoskins, he's still under contracts. I'd say probably not. I'd say they're probably not going after the Brewers would not be going after him. The Cardinals aren't going after him. They've already come out and said they're dropping payroll. The Michael Busch was very good for the Cubs last year. They're probably not. The Reds are interesting, but I mean,
the Reds don't do that.
That's not the Reds thing.
If they could add him into a lineup with Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz, now you're talking with a really good pitching staff.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I don't know. I feel like the Reds are still pretty high on Encarnacion Strand, so I don't know. Maybe they'll continue to give him a chance. Jamer went over and played some first too. Tyler Stevenson is a person to look at, probably transitioning to first for the Reds. I think they kind of want his bat in the lineup more.
You can do better at first base as a batter.
Well,
he's valuable as a batter, as a catcher, but once you move him to first base, he's less than average.
I don't know. That's a great question because I feel like he's going to the American League. I feel like the Astros are a team that could probably definitely be in the market. The Red Sox have Tristan Casas, so they're probably not. The Orioles,
they have two of them.
Yeah, the Orioles aren't probably interested. The Rays are not spending that money. The Blue Jays have Vladdy. The Guardians aren't spending that money. The Royals aren't spending the money. I feel like the Royals are a team that may splash here and maybe go do something. That's a team that, flipped around and made the playoffs after losing 100 games. So maybe.
Makes sense. What about Christian Walker?
See, I feel like that's another. I feel like where Alonso goes probably dictates where Walker goes. Although I think Walker's a more valuable first baseman in my opinion. I think he is an all-world defensive first baseman who has huge pop in his bat. If I'm, to be quite frank with you, if I'm the Diamondbacks, I'm giving him whatever he wants because that's a lineup that's ready, that is contending to win, and he's a vital part of that lineup, and that bat plays in that stadium.
Seems like the most likely.
I think he returns home. I don't think he goes anywhere because I think the Diamondbacks realize at the same time that I feel like the Giants go after Pete Alonso. I feel like that's a team that they could probably. I feel like the Giants may pursue Soto as well. It's going to be an arms race in that the NL West with those teams because you've got the Dodgers big market, the Padres spend money, you got the Giants. It's an arms race.
Those lineups are pretty set.
Yeah, but if you can get better, why not? The thing with the Giants is you're going to have to play the Dodgers 18 times a year. Do you have the lineup to beat them 9? If not, then your chance of making the playoffs aren't good. Do you have the lineup to beat the Padres 9 times? If not, then you have to get the lineup to be good enough to do that. So, I mean, realistically, we see in the MLB every time. Very rarely do 3 teams from the same division make the playoffs. It doesn't happen very often, in rare cases, because they just have to play each other so much throughout the year. So I would say that Alonso and Soto probably are in play for the Giants. I don't see Christian Walker going to San Francisco from Arizona, but weirder things have happened.
Alex Bregman?
I don't know. Wherever it goes, it'll be a mistake for him. That wherever he goes, he's on the down slope. This is probably his last big contract. I truly have no idea with him. It's I'd say he's probably somebody that's going to stay in the American League. I don't see him. I mean, the Phillies have Bomer. The Braves have Austin Riley. The Mets have who's the Mets third baseman? I mean, the Mets. I don't know who their third baseman is off the top of my head, but that's a team that could potentially. I think that the Mets could really be in play for Bregman. Mark Vientos is there, who played in the postseason. I feel like Bregman's probably going to be an upgrade from that. So I would say if I had to pick, and just kind of knowing, hey, Cohen likes to spend money, Bregman's money chasing, a team that has a chance to compete probably next year again. I'd say that the Mets probably fit the bill for everything Bregman if he wants to go to the National League.
And Tyler O'Neill?
Oh, God, I love Tyler O'Neill. I do. Tyler O'Neill was one of my favorite Cardinals. He's so good. Braves.
It's not going to be St. Louis, though.
It will not be St. Louis again. I think Ollie Marmol did him wrong. I think the organization did him wrong. Why would he go back to a place where he was way more successful outside? I feel like he could be back with the Sox, though. His bat plays for that stadium. If you don't know, Tyler O'Neill's a lower name on the totem pole. If you don't know Tyler O'Neill, you're listening to this, just look up a picture of him. He is probably the most jacked player I've seen naturally in the league at his stature. Dude just mashes. I watched him play live. This is a good story. All right, so Dad and I would go down to see Albert Pujols play in his last game in Cincinnati that we were able to go to. That last series, it was in late August. It was like my first week of college. We drive down. Pujols ends up hitting 694 in that game in like the third inning. Tyler O'Neill hits 2 home runs in that game, and I'm telling you, I have never heard a ball hit the bat as hard as Tyler O'Neill. It sounded like a gunshot. It was scary. I mean, like, it's a good thing that nobody was in left field because somebody would have gotten killed. This was a missile, 2 of them. It's just, he's a different, when you see athletes like that who just have that raw power, especially in baseball, it's just different. The way Ohtani, perfect example. When the ball leaves his bat, it's just different. It sounds different. It plays different. It's just, the true sluggers, they just make such an impact. I feel like he goes back to the Red Sox. He was good there. They'll want him back, and they'll pay the money to keep him.
Well, I know you like to talk about hockey, and we haven't talked much hockey yet.
Okay.
The Winnipeg Jets are 14-1. Mm-hmm. Are they a legit contender to bring Canada its first Stanley Cup in your lifetime?
Yes, it won't happen. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are absolutely. They're in the best, I would argue, because I'm a Blackhawks fan, I would argue the Central is the best division in hockey. Every team is elite. I would say every team is really good, and the top end talent. We're talking about the Jets. The Wild are 10-2-3. I mean, that's a good hockey team. The Jets, what the Jets have more than anything is they have a combination, and it's very rare in hockey to see a team have everything. They have elite scoring. They have good back checking from their forwards. They play very well in the neutral zone. They have good defensemen. They're not great, good defensemen. And they have Connor Hellebuck, who is, he's Team USA's goalie. So, and they're going to if they win the Stanley Cup, it's on his coattail. So I would say that this is Canada's first half Stanley Cup. This is kind of half of it's America's because Connor Hellebuck is Team USA's goalie. And,
that's not how it works.
Not how it works at all. This team is really good. Mark Scheifele, great scorer. Great scorer. Kyle
Gotta have one of those.
Kyle Connor, great scorer. Elite sniper, has been since he entered the league. Nikolai Ehlers, great scorer. Alex Iafallo, who is very in the hockey community. I know they're probably not a huge hockey fans listening to this show.
There'll be a few.
He's the kind of player, when he left the Kings to go to the Jets, everybody said, oh, well, I mean, it pops up on your phone and you like, okay, well, I mean, that was a good move. And then you really sit and break down his metrics and his numbers and you say, okay, that was actually a huge move for the Jets because he offers a bit of sandpaper to that team, a bit of grit. He's real dirty in the corners. He plays a very physical brand of hockey. He can be on the penalty kill, and he's a good scorer. He's kind of fits that. If you know Matthew Tkachuk, he's kind of, I would consider him a Dollar General Matthew Tkachuk, where he's not that top elite in talent, but he has all the tangibles that Matthew Tkachuk has, the real just hockey player. You're your prototypical hockey player. I hate it because the Blackhawks have to play the Jets so much. But yeah, this team's real good. I would also like to say that hockey has been really good. Go and look at the records. Everybody is in it at this point in the year. I mean, they always say where you are at Thanksgiving is where you end up. There's going to be, I mean, right now, there's not a team any lower than 4 games below 500. I mean, that never happens. There's always, I mean, the Canadians have no chance of making the playoffs. The Blue Jackets obviously have no chance. But, like, just the fact that the parity in the league is so good. I think maybe better than any other league. I think every hockey team...
It's been that way for a long time.
It has been. I think every hockey team... And then you get, like the Metropolitan Division is so elite. Like, the Hurricane...
Are the Capitals for real?
Yeah, as long as Alex Ovechkin's playing, the Capitals are for real.
Well, he's played the last couple of years and they haven't made the playoffs.
It doesn't matter. But they made the playoffs last year. Snuck in last... I mean,
That's
now
right,
that granted, they ran into a buzzsaw. That
Yes.
Rangers team is real good.
I didn't mean, can they make the playoffs? Obviously, as long as Alexander Ovechkin's there, they're making
Yes,
the playoffs.
but-
I mean, are they legit?
I mean, Dylan Strome, a former Blackhawk, got written off, was on a line with Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat for a while, just kind of a top 3 pick in the draft. Everybody kind of pushed him off and said he's got 22 points. I mean, he's at almost two points per game pace. It's like that. Those are the kind of players that you have now. Pierre-Luc Dubois, great hockey player, been great everywhere he goes. Now a complete head case. Would not want him in my locker room, in my dressing room, changing room. John Carlson, elite defenseman. I mean, Jacob Chikrin, huge coming over from the Senators, like can run the point on the power play. Great power play defenseman. This is a team that is going to probably, in my opinion, go as far as their goaltending takes them. And Charlie Lindgren is no great goaltender. I don't want to say that, but Logan Thompson's been very good for the Golden Knights the past couple of years. So that's a tandem that can play. Yeah, I'd say that they're 10-4. They're third in the Metro. I mean,
I know. We're excited in our household. We, of course, Susie is even bigger Capitals fan than I am. But we are Capitals fans in the Mengelt household.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason they can't. I'm not in the business at this point in the year with the NHL to write anyone off. Outside of, I mean, you've got your bottom, like the Anaheim, San Jose, like they have no chance. The Blackhawks, Nashville's been surprisingly bad. They spend a lot of money. The Penguins, the Blue Jackets, the Flyers, like those are, and the Canadians, those are teams that really probably don't have any chance. But I mean, you're only taking 6 teams out of the 32. I mean, you got 26 still left in play, and we're almost to Thanksgiving. You can't ask for much more than that.
So that's it, Will.
Is it? We're just gonna.
That's the 5 questions.
We're going to ignore.
We're going to
ignore what we've talked about the last.
IU just beat the defending national champions. You got to be impressed now.
Davis Warren is terrible. He is. He wouldn't start at Ball State. That's how bad he is. And they only won by 5. Just wait. I can't wait. This week you're going to have to hear about it. All the media. Oh, we're top 5, top 4. Here we
2
are
weeks.
sitting. Guess what?
For 2 weeks, though.
They're going to go into Columbus, and they're going to get blown out.
You heard it from Will Rutherford.
You heard it from me. It from me. And if they don't, because I've said this before, they're going to go play a home game in Lucas Oil Stadium against Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks, and they might lose by 100.
There we are. Oregon 100, IU 0. That's the end of today's 5 questions that need answers. Always entertaining, Will. Even after the podcast ended, Will kept going, so I kept recording.
I would like to go back and watch that Alabama LSU game. Okay, LSU has 3 losses. Alabama has 2 losses. IU goes to either one of those stadiums and loses by 3 touchdowns. I don't know. You can't watch that game and tell me that IU is anywhere near the athlete that either one of those teams have. You can't. You cannot tell me that. I'm so tired of this. Sure, they're good for the Big Ten. They are so bad in the SEC. So they're like Vanderbilt if they are in the SEC. They're okay. They're not great. They go to Georgia. LSU. Missouri. I'll give Missouri some credit. Texas. Those South Carolina, for God's sakes, is playing good football. I mean, It's just a different kind.
Arkansas too, right?
Arkansas,
Kentucky,
Tennessee. I need for their top 10. I'm forgetting about them. I mean, there are so many teams.
Mississippi State, Auburn.
Let's just assume that the IU plays Tennessee in Knoxville first round of the playoffs. They're going to be crapping themselves when Rocky Top comes on. I mean, they have never experienced anything like that atmosphere that they are going to experience. Like, they're just not ready. They're not ready. There's nothing in the Big Ten. 2 weeks is the closest they're going to get to it.
They're one of the best coach teams I've ever seen. That's what I want to say about it. Will, thank you so much.
Coaches aren't playing. Fun. Coaches aren't playing.
I'll have a game plan. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks to the hater, Will Retherford, for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report again. Man, that's fun. And thank you for listening. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us if you like the podcast so you do not miss a single segment. And it would be very helpful to us if you like us, if you'd tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.